Assuming that a sale isn't complete, will Almada be available for selection on Saturday?
Amada is available for selection.
And have you noticed any change in anything about him these past few days?
No, not really. He's been same old. Obviously, he was suspended the last game, which was a bummer. We sat down yesterday. We went over some video stuff. We talked about some goals for the next couple games. Just things that we think that we can get him in, how we can get him in better spots, or how we can, maximize his talents, and also within conjunction of the team. And so we've had some good conversations, but I would say like everything, normal.
Okay. And Bartik, I saw a train today. I guess this was his first session back.
Yeah, he just got back, so he was in good spirits. He's he was happy to be around the group, happy to be back. We're happy to have him back, so hopefully he can be available for some kind of minutes this weekend.
Is that just like a game time decision, or is that a running through?
Oh, we'll see. I mean, he's had a lot of travel. There's been games that he's been a part of. The travel is a big one,
Right.
So they just want to check in with him. Like we've got one game at a time, but at the same time, I do have to think that there is multiple. So it's about making sure the availability for him, but also the group, and making sure that as he gets himself back and acclimated to the group, that everything is good with him, and we keep him on the field when he's available and ready.
A couple of players have talked about the team adopting perhaps a more pragmatic approach to home games to try to start to get some points that have been dropped for the past few. I assume that's your message. I'm curious, what does that mean to you about being more pragmatic at home?
What more? Say a little bit more about that.
That they don't need to try to have the ball all the time, that they don't need to try to be as aggressive all the time, depending upon the situations, is how I'm interpreting what they're saying.
Aggressive? No. I always want them to be aggressive. I was just curious. I've not heard their comments back, so when I hear, I'll have to hear what they say. But what we talk about is that, when you're playing against a team, is what we want to score. The idea is to score the goals. How they come, they might be different ways. Sometimes it's maybe a longer pass, or sometimes it could be you have to break them down with multiple passes and multiple different movements. I think there's different ways to break down opponents. So I don't know if it's like pragmatic. For me, it makes sense. Like you play what the game gives you. So if you need 3 passes to do it in 3 passes. Don't waste your time and energy to do 25 passes and then have 10 guys behind the ball and then you got to break more down. For me, that's not like a pragmatic way. It just makes sense of what the game's giving you. If there's a big gap that opens up because somebody's run out of it and there's a ball that's in behind and someone will run, then there's one pass. I mean, Daniel Rios scores off Brad playing him in behind. That play happens relatively quickly and there's less players in front of their goal. Ideally, you want that. You don't want to have to break down 10 players. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong. But I would imagine they don't. So it's pragmatic, or it's just playing what the game gives you. Maybe it's the same thing. So.
And Garth had said a couple of weeks ago that they want to move quickly to try to find a striker to replace Yakimakis. I know you can't talk about specific plans, but have y'all talked about those plans?
No, what he shared with everybody else is what has been shared at the moment. Like I'm focused on the guys that are here. Like it's a non-factor. We've got guys that are competing in multiple positions, so that's great to have. When things pop up, they'll keep me in the loop, and we'll have constant communication when there are things to talk about.
The first game against Toronto, if I remember right, they had a lot of man-marking principles throughout most of the first half especially. Do you expect something similar?
Yeah, they seem to be exactly the same way, like whether results or what not going their way or not going their way. They're a very aggressive team. He's got a way he wants to play. He seems like a great guy, a great coach, and they all seem to play for him. So I think it'll be a tough game for us. A team that we respect. Obviously the circumstances of the last game will be a lot different. It was freezing cold, different players available, not available, but regardless, it's just a different situation. So we'll hope that the result is also different.
How do you prepare for Bernadeschi and Edson?
Look, they're 2 world-class players, but ultimately, it's a team against a team. So yes, we'll highlight on certain things we want to try to stop them from doing as a team, but they'll probably say the same. That they've got them too. Sorry. Sorry, I'm sure you couldn't hear. So they've got those 2 players, but at the same time, we've got to respect the whole team. There'll be 11 on the field, and so if you leave the other players open, they're going to hurt you as well. We know they've got a kid in Derek Etienne that has got some talent that can hurt you in different ways. They've got other players around them, so we won't only highlight them because teams aren't just made from one player, or two players. But yeah, we have to be aware of their certain qualities and trying to limit them and be aggressive to stop them.
What did you make of Jay's performance against St. Louis?
Yeah, he was great. I thought he did a really good job. He grew into the game in some ways, and he pushed himself to. I think in some ways in the second half he started to physically tire out, and he's pushed himself through that limit. He's not had maybe as many games as he's wanted. So I thought, yeah, in the time he had, he did a really good job.
How has he grown over the last couple of years?
Yeah, maturity-wise, he's become more of a mature player. I think in the on and off the field, so he's become more of like, all right, this is my full-time job. This is who I am as a player. This is who I am as a person. I'm going to continue to grow. So he's pushed the group. I think like we talked about that. All the midfielders we were talking about, like how they can continue that and embrace competition. He doesn't seem like he's ever satisfied just being in a role that, oh yeah, I know I'm young and I can stay on the bench and that. No, he's trying to push the guys in front of him to let them know like, hey, I'm here and I can step in. I can do a really good job. He's grown in different ways because when he was younger, he played higher up as like a 10. So now when he drops back into a little bit of a deeper position, whether he plays as a 6 or whether he plays as an 8, depending on who he complements that with, he can do different things, which is a really cool tool to have. And like he is super versatile. There's been times where in the past, and I'm not saying this is where he will ever play, but like he has played as a right back before. He has done different things, and I think that's a testament to how he's kind of grown as a player to be adaptable like that.
Last one for me. What have the instructions been to Shae, especially as far as positional wise? Because it seems like he is really kind of unrestricted as far as his movement and where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean he's the front three will have movements off each other, so without like going into too much detail, he's got like his basic counter movements. He wants to be, if he's checking into space, then someone needs to be running in behind. If he's running in behind, then someone should be checking in space, and he needs to move off the players around him. It's a little bit of a different position for him, but I think if we can get him in areas where we can highlight his 1v1 abilities, I think that's a key thing. But it's more about, yes, it's not only about his movement, but it's the others around him and how we all move together.
How has Carl Robinson helped you? And it was your decision, correct, to go out and hire a coach?
No one ever just gets one. No one person makes the decisions at a club. I believe. Like we all end up like settling on, not settling. We all end up selecting Robbo to help us. But yeah, it started with conversation, and then from there, more of a formal interview process with multiple people. There was a lot of great people, but he used somebody that is acclimated really, really quickly. I think the staff around, the other staff around us, has done a good job of making sure that he feels welcomed. Because that was my challenge to everybody around us, is that it's not only on him, it's on us and the players. It's on us to then make him feel welcome and make him feel part of it. And then his job is also to acclimate to us as well. He's challenged us in different ways as a staff. He's got so much experience. So even just a story that he's telling about a situation that he's been in, and he's been in situations like this before, whether it was a player, as a coach, he's helped in that way. On the bench, because he's seen so much, like it doesn't seem to rattle him. Like whether we're like in St. Louis, we're down a goal, up a goal, whenever we go up a goal or whatever, he's just kind of been steady and then really thinks through decisions. So if I say to the bench, I'm thinking about this, whether it's a substitution or if we need to change something on the field, he's able to say like, yeah, but have you thought about whatever the situation might be of a sub or a different tactic or a formation? He's been really calming in that sense, and drawing on his experience is what we've all been trying to do. We've been almost trying to use him, like, hey, just soak up all the knowledge we can from him, because he's got it there. And at the same time, like, we can't make sure we shouldn't settle and make sure that he can learn from us in certain ways of being able to adapt here and with the players. But yeah, he's been super helpful.
I'm curious if one of the benefits is just having kind of the fresh eyes, if it's actually kind of an advantage for him to help the team by having not been here and being able to kind of see things through kind of a fresh perspective. Yeah,
I think it's both. I think he hasn't been around, so he's not seen. He can come in with a really positive attitude because he's not seen anything. And I don't mean this in a bad way. We've not seen like the bad times or the rough time that we have been going through, and so he's got that perspective. But at the same time, he's just got the experience. So he goes, all right, I've seen this happen in teams before. He can see where there's certain personalities. I mean, he's managed different team. Like when he manages his team in Vancouver, he had similar personalities, and you get North American players, you've got Europeans, you've got South American players. So he knows like the culture of the player a little bit. And now he can then tap into, I did this a little bit before. What's that? Oh, yeah, he reminds me of this guy. So I think that's super helpful. So it's both a little bit.
one of the things we've talked about over the years in like defining the Atlanta United way is controlling games. I feel like maybe it's a little different now, and this is a league-wide thing. This isn't just an Atlanta thing. How would you define how you want to control games?
Yeah, but creating chances. I think that control is funny. Is it with possession and then you don't get any shots? That doesn't seem very fun. Or is it having lots of shots and not having possession? I think every game is a little bit different. Like we played 2 teams on the road that were very much transitional. So if we didn't adapt to the game or adapt to an environment, then that'd be shame on us as staff and players. So I think the way we would like to control is creating chances. So and how we create those chances will be different. I mean, there might be games, I don't know, there might be games where we have a lot of possession and create chances that way, or there might be times where we go more direct and pragmatic, as someone might say. But I would like to control games by creating chances and limiting counterattacks.
Does Carl have a specific responsibility?
No.
I know some of y'all had like set piece responsibilities. That's what I was
Yeah,
curious.
I mean, at the moment, like it's that back to what I said before. It's shared. Like we've been really sharing a lot of responsibility, and I said to him at the beginning too, because like I'm going through this. Like we were able to bring him in. Like Garth and Carlos let me be selective in that process of like, hey, who do you think can help best support you? And I also said like, I've never had to do that before. I've never been given the ability to do that, so it's been amazing. But also I said like, well, because I've never done that, I don't know what I'm going to give you. I don't know. But also, what do you like doing? What are you passionate about? I really want people that are going to, hey, I love doing this. Like, give me that responsibility. I got it. So week to week it could change. This week, you take care of set pieces, or you take care of final third movements, whatever it might be. I think that's the strength of the staff, is that people are ready to adapt and kind of do whatever the role might take. So at the moment, nothing specific.
After a good road stretch for you guys, coming back and playing here at home, does it give that extra momentum and that energy for you guys, especially trying to compete and finally get a win at home after a long drought you guys have had?
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I think the big thing for me is never be complacent. That even after a good stretch, like we know what the outcome that we always want. We always want to win games, whether it's home or away. So that ultimately didn't even go our way because we only got 4 points instead of 6. But at the same time, it's how we go about it, making sure that, okay, that's good, but don't settle on that, because guess what? Now you got to start back over. So we start back over at square one. We go with the game in front of us against Toronto, and my big message is like, don't get complacent, because as soon as you get complacent, that's when you end up on your butt again. So
We've talked about Carl and what he's brought to the group. What has Matt brought to the group joining in?
Yeah, Matt. I'm glad you asked about him. Like Matt's, he's been awesome. Like I've obviously known him for a long time, and he's grown with the club as well as a lot of us have grown with the club, and we're all really grateful of that. You know, he's got a different perspective. I think he's so smart. So again, like all these staff members complement each other in different ways. He's such a smart guy in terms of how he sees the game, how he sees training exercises, and can organize that. And he does it from like almost like a teaching background way, because he's worked with kids at a young level, and then he's now helped produce some of these kids to be professionals, so he can draw on that experience. The on-field stuff is where I feel like he's been super helpful to myself, is like complimenting of, hey, I got that. I've done this drill before. I know how we can teach this movement, or we can teach this defensive principle. So he's really helpful there. And yeah, I mean, we've got a high trust factor. Like we really get along in that sense, which is helpful. And the fact that we've been in the trenches together before, we've done this before. And again, not to say that it's going to be the same result and the same outcome, but he can draw on those experiences that he's had before, and now we can push him to a different level. We can challenge him in different ways of how do you work with pros day in, day out, and the different personalities, because they are exactly the same as the way those U12s are. Somewhere in that time from U12 to whatever age they sign their professional contract and even more, they develop some sort of ego. Sometimes a good one, sometimes one that needs a little bit managed. And it's funny because when you see the kids and the way they play, you're like, oh yeah, and the attitudes, oh yeah, it's the same thing. But this attitude gets a little bit bigger, and how you develop those relationships and manage that can be different. So it's been cool to see him try things that he's done at the academy level, and in a good way that he's tried here, and then, I got to tweak this because those players aren't moving in the same way. They do something a little bit different. So yeah, he's been awesome.
I don't know if you'll have an answer to this, but have you given thought to what the conditions of the turf might be like Saturday after it's been under this weight of all this sod and the subflooring and everything?
No, I did now. You gave me something to think about. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. Either way, it'll be the same for both teams, so I won't give anybody an excuse for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Rob.
See you later.
See ya.